I came home early. 92 relatives were inside my house. I didn't say a word. I pulled into my driveway at 6 in the morning and thought I had the wrong address. There were cars lining both sides of the street. A party bus, an actual party bus, white with tinted windows, and a driver asleep behind the wheel, parked sideways across my lawn. Balloons on my porch, the mylar kind, silver and gold, catching the early light, and stretched across the entire front of my house, fastened to my gutters with what I would later discover were industrial zip ties that tore the paint when I removed them. A banner printed in navy blue letters, "Family means forever." I sat in my car with the engine running for a full 30 seconds. Then I counted the vehicles, 11, plus the bus. I turned the engine off. I am Elena Vasquez. I'm 34 years old. I'm a project manager for a mid-size logistics company. I work 60-hour weeks, and I bought my house with 5 years of savings and a mortgage I pay entirely by myself. 3 bedrooms, a backyard I landscaped over 2 summers, a corner office where I keep my grandmother's photo, my external hard drives, and the only original Persian rug I own. I bought that house as a promise to myself, a very specific one, that I would have one place in my life where I was in control. One place where the chaos that had followed me for 30 years, not bad luck, not bad circumstances, but my family, could not reach me without my permission. Standing in my driveway at 6:03 on a Saturday morning, I understood that the promise had been broken. There were 92 people inside my house. I found out the exact number later from the event company's own invoice. 92 people, roughly half of whom I recognized as relatives, and half of whom I had never seen in my life, inside a house they had entered without my knowledge, without my invitation, and without my key, because the key they used, the one my mother had kept in a magnetic box above her kitchen doorframe for 4 years, was supposed to be for emergencies. This, apparently, was how my family defined an emergency. My brother Marcus was on the porch, laughing at something a man in a Braves cap was saying, holding a beer at 6 in the morning like that was a completely normal thing to do. He had his phone out, documenting everything. When he saw my car, he didn't look guilty. He looked annoyed, the expression of someone who has been interrupted. He jogged down the porch steps with his hand already up. "Don't start," he said before I had spoken a single word. My mother came out behind him, holding my casserole dish. My grandmother's casserole dish, the Le Creuset one I had specifically asked her not to take when she visited in March, full of what appeared to be pulled pork. She saw me, and her smile went out like a light switch. "Elena," she said, "you're early." Early. At my own house. I looked past them both. Through the open front door, I could see the hallway, my hallway, where a toddler I had never met was crouched against the wall, drawing in purple marker. Long, looping streaks, shoulder height, running from the coat hooks to the baseboard. My grandmother's rug, the one that had been in our family for 40 years, and which I had paid to have professionally cleaned twice, had a spreading red stain near the center. Punch or wine, it didn't matter which. Strangers were moving through my kitchen with plates. My father appeared behind my mother in the doorway, arms crossed. He has a look he's been using on me since I was 16, since the first time I pushed back on something the family decided without asking me. The look that says, "You are about to cause a problem, and causing a problem is the worst thing you could be." "It's family, Elena," he said. "Don't make a scene." I smiled at him. That's when they got quiet, both of them, because they knew that smile. I had spent 34 years developing it specifically for moments like this, and they understood on some animal level that the smiling version of me was significantly more dangerous than the screaming version. "You're right," I said. "I won't make a scene." I walked past all 3 of them, through my own front door, past the purple marker toddler and a cluster of relatives who called my name like I was the guest, down the hall, into my office, and I closed the door. "Let me tell you about my family, because you need to understand the architecture of what happened to me before you can understand what I did about it." My parents, Daniel and Rosa Vasquez, raised Marcus and me in a 3-bedroom house in Marietta, Georgia, on my father's salary as an HVAC technician and my mother's income from alterations and tailoring. They are not bad people. I want to be precise about that because I've spent a long time making sure I was precise about it. They are not cruel. They are not malicious. They are people who learned, over decades, that the family unit is a resource to be shared without boundaries, and that individual privacy is a form of selfishness. Every major decision in my childhood was made collectively and announced to me after the fact. My bedroom was given to my cousin Anthony for a summer without asking me. My college savings, a small account my grandmother had opened in my name, were partially withdrawn when Marcus needed his car repaired. My prom dress money went toward a family gathering my parents hosted that year. Each time, the explanation was some version of the same sentence. "You understand. You're the capable one." Being the capable one, in my family, means being the one who absorbs. Marcus is 3 years younger than me, and Marcus has never been the capable one. Marcus has the particular charisma of someone who has never had to develop discipline because someone else always cleaned up behind him. He is funny and magnetic and absolutely aware of both qualities. He has borrowed money from me 11 times in the past 8 years and repaid it twice. He started a landscaping business, a food truck, an app, and a real estate investment group, in that order, and I watched each one evaporate while the family nodded and said it's just bad timing, Elena, and suggested I help him get back on his feet. I say all of this not to make you angry on my behalf, though I notice you might be already, but because you need to understand that by the time I found myself in my office at 6 in the morning while 92 people destroyed my house, I was was not surprised. Not exactly. I was something beyond surprised. I was at the specific intersection of completely saw this coming and still cannot believe it's real that only family can put you in. I opened my laptop. I did not yell. I did not cry. I had learned, over 34 years, that yelling and crying were currencies my family had been trained to ignore. I changed the garage code from the app on my phone. Then, I opened the credit card portal for the emergency card my parents had access to. A card I had added them to 3 years ago for genuine emergencies, hospital visits, car trouble, that kind of thing. And I requested a temporary freeze. Then I opened my contacts and texted the locksmith I had used when I first bought the house. Marcus, I know it's early. I need a rekey today. I'll pay double your weekend rate. Please call me when you wake up. His name was also Marcus, which I noted privately as the universe having a particular sense of humor. Then I booked 2 nights at a hotel downtown. The autograph collection on Peachtree, $212 a night, which was less than what Marcus's event company had charged for the party bus, as I was about to find out. Then I found the envelope. It was on my desk, not in a drawer, not hidden. On my desk, under a ceramic coffee mug that had been moved from the shelf where it lived and was now being used as a paperweight. Like someone had put it there in a hurry and then forgotten to hide it better, or had simply never considered that I might find it because they had expected me to be gone until Sunday. I almost didn't open it. The handwriting on the front, venue agreement, Vasquez family reunion, was in a handwriting I didn't recognize, and for a brief moment my brain tried to file it under not my problem. Someone else's paperwork before some instinct I have spent 34 years developing said, open it. I opened it. 8 pages. Printed on the letterhead of an event company called Premier Occasions LLC, based in Alpharetta, a standard venue contract for a private event, filled in with details that stopped making sense by the second paragraph. Event date, today's date, event venue, my address. The venue owner, responsible for all liability pertaining to guest injuries, property damage, and municipal permits. The venue owner, whose signature appeared on page 6 in looping blue ink. Elena Maria Vasquez. Except I had never signed it. I know my own signature. I have been signing my name since I was 7 years old, and I know exactly how the E curves and where the loop in the V starts, and the specific way the last A trails off, because I was left-handed until 2nd grade, and the ghost of that is still in my handwriting 40 years later. This was not my signature. This was a copy of my signature. A traced copy, probably from a check or a document Marcus had gotten access to at some point. The loop on the E was too symmetrical. The V was too upright. It looked like a teenager practicing someone else's autograph. My hands went cold, not shaking. Cold. The difference matters. Shaking is fear. Cold is the particular sensation of your brain shifting from emotional processing into something much more deliberate. I read the full contract. The liability clause on page 4 stated that the venue owner accepted full financial responsibility for all damages, injuries, legal claims, and municipal violations arising from the event. The venue owner, meaning me. The venue owner whose forged name was on page 6. On page 7, there was an additional rider, added in a different font, clearly from a different original document, stating that any property damage up to $15,000 was the sole responsibility of the venue owner, and not covered by the event company's insurance. $15,000. I sat with that number for exactly 4 seconds. Then I picked up my phone and emailed Priya Mehta, my attorney, at 6:17 in the morning. Priya is 41 years old and has been practicing civil litigation in Georgia for 15 years. I found her 4 years ago when a contractor tried to bill me for work he hadn't done, and she has been the person I call when I need someone who will be calm when I cannot be. The subject line of my email was, possible fraud involving my home, calling you in 5 minutes. I photographed every page of the contract with my phone before I sent the email. Then I sent the same photos to my home insurance agent, Karen Okafor, who had set up her auto reply for the weekend, but whose personal cell number I had because I had specifically asked for it when I signed my policy, a habit I had developed after years of learning that the people who answer the main line on Saturdays are never the people who can actually help you. Then I walked back out to find my brother. The party was in full effect. Someone had connected a Bluetooth speaker to what I strongly suspected was my own Sonos system, and there was music I didn't recognize playing at a volume my neighbors were going to have opinions about. Children were running through the hallway. My Aunt Dolores was sitting in my reading chair with a paper plate, telling someone a story. My cousin Jalen waved at me from the kitchen doorway like I was the one who had just arrived. Marcus was by the fireplace, holding court the way Marcus always holds court, relaxed, expansive, performing generosity with someone else's resources. I heard him say to a group of relatives clustered around him, she's always been like this. She's the most generous person. She just doesn't like to make a big deal of it. He was talking about me, explaining to people why I wasn't there. She donated the house, I heard him say. That's just who Elena is. I stood in the doorway and watched him for a moment. He didn't see me. He was gesturing toward the room, toward my furniture, toward my walls, with the pride of ownership that belongs to a man who has never owned anything. Marcus, I said, kitchen, now. He made a face, the face he's been making since he was 9 years old when something interrupts his performance. But he followed. I placed the contract on the kitchen island between us. His face did something I had never seen it do before. Just for a second, less than a second, before he rearranged it back into irritation. But I saw it, that flicker, the specific micro-expression of someone who has been caught and is calculating how much you know. Where'd you get that? that? He said. My desk, in my office, in my house. The venue company needed a name for the permits. It's paperwork, Elena. It's not, you forged my signature. Don't be dramatic. The liability clause holds me responsible for $15,000 in damages. Nobody's going to get hurt. Someone's child drew on my wall in permanent marker 20 minutes ago. My mother appeared in the kitchen doorway. She had put the casserole dish down somewhere, and now she was wringing her hands the way she does when she wants to look distressed without actually intervening. It's a technique she has perfected over decades. Elena, everyone is having such a lovely time. Mom, I turned to look at her directly. Did you know about this contract? She looked at the floor. Not at Marcus, not at me, at the floor. That answer cost me more than any yes would have. My father came in behind her, full presence, arms crossed, the weight of family authority arranged around him like armor. Your brother handled the arrangements. We didn't want to bother you while you were traveling, so you used an emergency key to host 100 people in my home. We have a key, my mother said quietly. You had an emergency key for emergencies. This is family, Elena, my father said. Family doesn't need an invitation. Marcus had recovered by now. He leaned against the counter with his arms crossed in a posture that mirrored my father's so precisely it was almost impressive. What are you going to do? He said. Call the police on Grandma? On Aunt Dolores? Go ahead, Elena. Make that call. I looked around my kitchen. Cracker crumbs ground into the grout I had resealed last fall. A wine glass sitting directly on the wood surface I had asked people not to put glasses on for 4 years. A cracked edge on the ceramic soap dispenser I had bought in Portugal. I hadn't found the bathroom sink yet. I would find the cracked bathroom sink at 9:47 that evening, after everyone had left, after I came back to document the damage with my phone camera and a flashlight. I looked at my brother. No, I said. I'm going to let you finish. He blinked. Enjoy the party. Take all the pictures. Tell everyone how generous I am. My mother reached for my arm. Thank you, sweetheart. I stepped back. Not dramatically, just out of reach. But after today, I said, none of you will have access to my house, my money, or my patience. Ever again. My father's jaw tightened. That's a threat. That's a boundary. I went back to my office. I packed one bag, laptop, passport, the canvas pouch with my grandmother's rings that I kept in the desk drawer, my external hard drive with 4 years of financial records on it, my phone charger. I did not pack clothes. I would buy what I needed at the hotel. I walked back through my house, through the music and the laughter and the paper plates and the people who looked at me like I was a guest in my own home, and I got in my car and drove away, while the banner that said "Family means forever" flapped in the September wind behind me. That night, my phone became a scroll of messages I did not open until I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed at 9:15 with room service I wasn't eating. Mom, 8:42 p.m. You made everyone uncomfortable by leaving. You always do this. Dad, 8:57 p.m. We raised you better than this behavior. Marcus, 9:04 p.m. You better not turn this into a thing. Elena, I'm serious. My Aunt Dolores, 9:11 p.m. Your mama is crying. My cousin Jalen, 9:18 p.m. Bro, that was cold. And then, at 9:22, my mother again. I just want you to know that everyone left feeling hurt because of you. I read that one twice. I put the phone face down on the nightstand. Then I called Priya. Priya Mehta had been awake since my 6:17 email. She had reviewed the photographs of the contract, done a preliminary search on Premier Occasions LLC, and by the time I reached her, she had the outline of what we were dealing with. The good news, she said, is that forged signatures on legal contracts are not a gray area in Georgia. This is textbook forgery. It's also potentially wire fraud if Marcus or anyone else used digital communication to arrange this while using your forged name. My brother's phone, I said. He was documenting everything on his phone. He sent photos from inside my house, which could establish a timeline showing he knew the contract was fraudulent. She paused. Elena, I want to be honest with you. If we pursue this criminally, it goes through the police and then it's out of our hands. If we pursue it civilly, we control more of the process. Given that this is your family, you may want to think about which path. Both, I said. A pause. Okay, Priya said. Both it is. The next morning at 9 a.m., I drove back to my house. The party bus was gone. The balloons had mostly deflated. The banner was still up. I documented everything before I touched anything. The purple marker wall, which ran for approximately 6 feet at a height of 26 inches from the floor. The stain on my grandmother's rug, which a carpet specialist named Dale Hutchinson, who had cleaned the rug twice before and knew exactly what it had been worth, would later assess as permanent, writing in his professional report that the damage was consistent with an acidic beverage left untreated for more than 12 hours. The BC bathroom sink, which had a crack running from the faucet base to the drain that had not been there when I left 2 days prior. 3 scratches on the wood floor in the dining room, consistent with furniture being dragged, and a broken slat in the wooden fence in the backyard, where someone had apparently tried to open it from the outside and used force when it didn't open immediately. I photographed all of it on my phone with timestamp-enabled location data. I emailed the photos to Priya at 10:41 with a subject line that read, "Damage documentation, Vasquez family reunion." Karen Okafor, my insurance agent, called me at 11:15. She had reviewed my policy over the weekend. "The good news," she said, using the same preface Priya had used, which I was beginning to find either reassuring or ironic, "is that your homeowner's policy covers unauthorized events. The bad news is that the forged contract creates a complication. The event company is going to try to point to your signature signature as evidence of consent. It's not my signature. I know that, and you know that. We'll need documentation. She paused. I'm flagging this for our legal team. Between the forgery and the damage, we're looking at a claim in the range of $12,000 to $18,000. That's before the rug. A pause. How bad is the rug? Dale Hutchinson says it's a total loss. The rug was appraised at $6,200 in 2021. The silence on Karen's end had a specific quality. The quality of someone revising numbers upward. I'd recommend getting a forensic document examiner to certify that the signature isn't yours, she said. It'll make everything cleaner. Priya had already thought of this. She retained James Ossie, a forensic document analyst who had spent 19 years providing expert testimony in civil and criminal cases for the Georgia court system. On Monday morning, James Ossie charged $800 for a standard examination, which Priya told me was reasonable, and which I paid without hesitation because it was less than the rug. His written analysis came back in 4 days. 3 pages, single-spaced, with comparison photographs and a conclusion stating that the signature on the Premier Occasions LLC contract was not consistent with the authentic signature of Elena Maria Vasquez in 6 measurable characteristics, including baseline angle, loop formation, and terminal stroke. His professional opinion, stated in the language of someone who has said this in front of judges many times, the signature in question was almost certainly produced by tracing or copying an existing signature sample rather than by the purported signatory. Almost certainly. In forensic document examination, that phrasing is as close to certainty as the field formally allows. On day 5, Priya sent a certified demand letter to Marcus's home address. The letter outlined the forgery, the unauthorized entry, the property damage, and the fraudulent use of my name and address in a commercial contract. It requested reimbursement for damages totaling $19,420, itemized with documentation. It stated that failure to respond within 14 days would result in a formal complaint to the Cobb County Police Department and a civil lawsuit for damages plus attorney's fees. My father called me 20 minutes after the certified letter was delivered. I know it was 20 minutes because I had tracking on the delivery notification. Elena. His voice had that particular texture it gets when he is trying to sound reasonable from a position of zero leverage. I think we need to talk about this as a family. I'm available Thursday at 2, I said. My attorney will be present. Your attorney. He said it like I had suggested bringing a tiger. My attorney, I confirmed. She'll want to discuss the forgery specifically. A very long pause. Marcus made a mistake, my father said. He should have asked. But going to the police over a family event? I'm not going to the police over a family event, I said. I'm going to the police over a forged legal document that attempted to transfer my property liability to a commercial contract without my knowledge or consent. The family event is a separate issue. Elena, Thursday at 2, Dad. My attorney's office. He didn't come Thursday. Marcus didn't come Thursday. My mother did. Alone. In a blazer I hadn't seen before, looking like she had prepared herself for something. Sitting across from Priya in a conference room that probably cost more per hour than my mother wanted to think about. Priya was measured and precise in the way that only people who have done something many times can be. She walked my mother through the forensic report, through the damage assessment, through the liability clause and what it would have meant financially if Marcus's plan had worked, if the contract had gone unchallenged, if someone had been injured, if the event company had come after the listed venue owner for damages. My mother sat with her hands folded on the table and didn't say anything for a long time. Then she said, "He told us you'd agreed to it." "I know," I said. "He said you wanted to do it for the family, that it was your idea." I didn't answer that one. There wasn't anything to say to it that would have helped. "Did you know he needed money?" my mother asked. And for the first time since I'd pulled into my driveway that Saturday morning, her voice broke slightly. He'd told us the landscaping business was doing well, but he owed the event company. He'd already paid them a deposit on your address. I processed that sentence. Marcus had used my address as collateral for an event deposit he couldn't cover. He had put my name on a contract to cover a debt he had already incurred without asking me, gambling that I would either never find out or would absorb it the way I had absorbed every other cost my family had put on my account over the years. He had bet 34 years of my compliance. He had lost. The settlement negotiation took 9 days from the demand letter. Marcus retained an attorney, a general practice lawyer named Gary something from a firm in Kennesaw, whose letter to Priya was, in Priya's words, ambitious, given the available facts. The counteroffer was $11,000 and an apology letter. Priya sent back a response that increased our demand by $2,000 for the cost of her time responding to the counteroffer. Marcus settled for the full $19,420. He did not have it. I knew he didn't have it. Priya knew he didn't have it. What Marcus had, it turned out, was a share in the family house in Marietta, the house my parents owned, where Marcus had been living in the basement for the past 2 years paying nominal rent. The settlement, structured by Priya, involved a lien against his share of that property, meaning that if and when the Marietta house was ever sold, Marcus's portion would first be applied to the outstanding settlement. This was, in the language of family dynamics, a nuclear option. I want to be honest about that. I understood what it meant, that I had attached a legal debt to the house my parents lived in, which would affect them eventually, even though the debt was Marcus's. My mother understood it too, when Priya explained it. She sat with that information for a long moment, and then she said something I did not expect. "He's done this before," she said quietly, "to other people, not family, but others." I looked at her. "The food truck," she said, "the partner he had, the man's name was Trevor. Marcus used his business this address for something. I don't know what. Trevor had to get a lawyer. She paused. Your father and I paid Trevor to make it go away. There are moments when you realize that the thing you thought was an isolated incident was actually a pattern, and that the people who should have warned you had chosen, each time, to protect the pattern instead of you. I sat with that for a long time. I'm sorry, my mother said. 2 words. Not enough. Also, I believed her. I know you are, I said. I revoked my parents' access to the emergency credit card permanently. I had the house rekeyed, which Marcus the locksmith completed on a Sunday morning for double his weekend rate plus a tip. I did not revoke my parents' relationship with me. That was never the plan. But I restructured it. The way you restructure a financial agreement when one party has demonstrated they will extract everything you offer if you don't set terms. My parents are welcome at my home, with 24 hours notice, by invitation. I will host one family event per year, at a time and scale I choose for a guest list I approve. These are not punishments. They are the conditions under which I am willing to have a relationship at all. Marcus and I have not spoken since the settlement was finalized. He has not apologized. He sent a text through my mother that said, verbatim, "Tell Elena I think what she did was extreme, and I hope someday she realizes that." I read it, deleted it. The lien on his property interest remains. Premier Occasions LLC, the event company Marcus had contracted using my forged name, was contacted by Priya as part of the settlement process. Their response made it clear that they had accepted the contract in good faith without verifying my identity, which created their own exposure. They revised their client verification procedures as part of their agreement to cooperate with our documentation. I did not pursue them further. They hadn't forged anything. They had just believed what Marcus told them, which is a mistake a lot of people make. Priya filed a formal complaint with the Cobb County Police Department regarding the forgery. Detective Raymond Ellis, 12 years in the white-collar crimes unit, took the case. He reviewed James O'C's forensic report, the contract, the timeline documentation, and Marcus's texts and social media posts from inside my home, which established that he had been there and aware of the contract's use. Marcus received a target letter 3 weeks after the complaint was filed. This means he is the subject of an active criminal investigation. Whether it results in charges is up to the DA's office. As of right now, that process is ongoing. I am cooperating fully. I am telling you this story from my reading chair, in my living room, in my house, which smells like fresh paint on the hallway wall and the cedar wood of the new rug I found to replace my grandmother's. The new rug isn't hers. Nothing will be hers again. But it's warm, and it covers the floor, and it's mine. Elena Vasquez, 34, project manager, homeowner, the capable one. Here's what I know now that I didn't know at 6 in the morning in my driveway. Capable is not an invitation. It is not a resource. It is not a blank check that your family gets to draw on because you haven't closed the account yet. Capability without boundaries is just a different kind of cage. The banner said, family means forever. What it meant was, you'll absorb this, like you've absorbed everything else, because you love us and we know it. They were right that I loved them. They were wrong about the rest. I don't need my family to understand the difference. I just needed to live it. And now I do. If you made it this far, you already know whether you've been the capable one in a family that confused that with permission. Hit like. You've earned it.